Now let's change gears and talk about VinFast, because the Vietnamese electric car maker made its stock market debut on the Nasdaq on Tuesday, and it was a day to remember.
Imagine you could drive your car around all week without spending a single dime on gasoline. Well, that is becoming a reality by the day. One of the most popular car brands in the world has just made a groundbreaking innovation: cars that run on water. Experts have admitted that this technology has the potential to revolutionize the entire auto industry in ways you never imagined. What is the technology behind this groundbreaking innovation, and what car brand is responsible? How will this new invention affect the future of the car industry and the world at large? Join us in this video as we explain how this water engine will destroy the entire car industry. Have you ever imagined that one day you could drive your car without ever having to worry about running out of gas? Or have you imagined driving a car with infinite fuel? Well, here's a shocker. That seeming fantasy has finally become a reality. Cars are one of the most used and most popular assets in the world today. Millions of people worldwide own cars. From sports cars and racing cars to average pickups and SUVs, these vehicles come in all shapes and sizes. There's no doubt that cars have been a great aid to humanity ever since they were first invented. The very first car ever invented was pretty much a slight step up from basic chariots. It was a three-wheeled motor called motor wagon, made by Carl Benz in 1866. This invention didn't have a typical modern-day car engine, but it did have other basic vehicle elements like spark plugs, throttle, water radiator, carburetor, and gear shifter. Later, when other inventors began to make their own vehicle models, profound changes and improvements began to spring up. In 1885, Gottlieb Daimler built the first two-cylinder, four-speed transmission vehicle that could attain speeds of up to 10 miles per hour. The next notable car invention came from American inventor Henry Ford. His quadricycle and the famous Model T car were the real pace-setters for modern-day vehicles, which is why Ford is considered the father of automobiles. Ford was also the first to design a typical assembly line for mass production of cars. It goes without saying that cars have evolved massively since then. The cars we have today are a huge upgrade from what we used to have in the early 1990s. In recent years, we've seen more and more sophisticated technology being applied to cars. Things like autonomous driving, electric vehicles, the internet, and other impressive innovations are all available in cars today. However, amidst all of these fantastic innovations in the auto world, there's still one major pressing issue with cars: fuel. You'd no doubt agree that one of the major problems with cars worldwide is the gasoline which they drive on. Cars have been the greatest consumers of gasoline, a byproduct of crude oil. In fact, in many nations today, petrol or gasoline has been the major contributor to the gross domestic product, all thanks to the countless cars on the roads. Due to the high demand, the price of this product has always been on the high side. And now, with the current inflation facing many parts of the world, gas prices have skyrocketed to all-time highs. This has greatly affected car owners, forcing many to turn to electric vehicles. The problem with these ones, however, is their unaffordability for common masses and high maintenance cost. Another issue that has trailed modern-day vehicles is the carbon emission that comes with fuel consumption. For your car to start and run, the fuel has to burn. And so, when the spark plugs produce the fire for ignition, fuel is mixed with oxygen in a predetermined ratio, and then combustion takes place in the combustion chamber. However, during this process, some hydrocarbons will be left as byproducts. These unburnt hydrocarbons are sent out through the exhaust pipes. Usually, for a healthy working engine, carbon monoxide and water would be released from the exhaust pipes. The problem with carbon monoxide is that it is a heavy pollutant. In fact, this poisonous gas is blamed for the current accelerated effect of global warming and climate change. In addition, it makes the air unsafe for humans, as it can cause certain things like dizziness, blood and organ poisoning, fatigue, and other complications. And so, it has always been a 21st century need to find a way to curb the pollution problem associated with cars. The ideal solution was to find an alternative fuel source, one that would produce byproducts that are harmless to the environment. The most eco-friendly substance or byproduct in this case is water. And so, the concept of cars running on water was born. This age-long dream of the car industry has faced many challenges and obstacles. However, now, the dream has finally come to realization, as cars powered by water engines are now a thing in the auto industry. Unsurprisingly, this phenomenal innovation is coming from no other brand than Toyota. One major advantage of Toyota's new water engines is that the company actually has appropriate funding, exposure, and leverage to truly perfect this concept. So far, the engine remains the most unique water engine car ever produced. If you're wondering how the engine of this vehicle works, it's quite similar to the hydrogen combustion engine found in some other popular Toyota vehicles like the Toyota Corolla H2. However, this time, instead of using processed hydrogen for fuel, the engine actually collects water and then separates the hydrogen from the oxygen. This separated hydrogen is then used as fuel to power the car. And so you could say that this new water engine is just a next-level evolution of the hydrogen combustion engine. Hydrogen combustion engines are another new concept in the car industry. These kinds of cars use a 3-cylinder turbo engine like those found in gasoline cars, except that this time, the engine parts and accessories are modified to take in hydrogen as fuel. First, the fuel tanks for these vehicles are twice as thick as regular fuel tanks. This is because hydrogen is a very flammable gas. Without this precautionary measure, it would be risky to run a car powered by hydrogen. Aside from the fuel tank, Toyota also ensures that cars with hydrogen combustion engines get hardened valves, fuel injectors, valve seats, and other connecting parts. Also, since it's hydrogen we're dealing with here, these parts are modified to handle gas, not liquid. One major advantage of hydrogen-powered vehicles is the low emissions. They only emit H20 and warm air. Another advantage is that they're easy to refill. Filling up a hydrogen tank takes a very short time since it's the gas you're dealing with, not liquid. Just take your mind back to how quickly you fill up your cooking gas at the gas station. That's exactly how quick it is to get your car tank filled with fuel if you're driving a hydrogen-powered car. Take the Toyota Yaris GR-H2 for instance. It only takes a minute and a half to fill up an empty tank. That's more than you can say for a modern-day gasoline-powered car. Although hydrogen combustion engines in cars are quite phenomenal, this new innovation from Toyota has changed the game entirely. You see, this newly invented water-powered car can bring many improvements to the table. First, it's the water it runs with. You don't need to go to a station to get pure hydrogen, which is quite expensive, to power your tank. All you have to do is get some purified water and top up your car tank till it is full. Now, you would agree that water is about the cheapest and most readily available thing on the planet. You can buy distilled water from any supermarket or even use the water from your home to fill up your car. This is the greatest advantage of this water engine, and it sets it apart from even the hydrogen combustion engine. Hydrogen combustion engines aren't popular with car owners because hydrogen is expensive to acquire in its pure form. Storing this gas alone in large quantities is a problem and of a high risk too. And so, establishments that sell it to car owners would always inflate the prices to make up for manufacturing and storage expenses. So you see, at the end of the day, maintaining a hydrogen car is more expensive compared to electric cars or regular gasoline cars. But this new Toyota vehicle engine uses the process of electrolysis to separate the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. There are electrodes inside the tank that emit high voltages to facilitate this process. Another bonus with this technology is the simple facilities and components it uses. Remember, cars that run on hydrogen need proper insulation in their tanks and other connecting components to avoid fire outbreaks. Well, in this case, since the hydrogen itself is actually produced from the water stored inside the tank, there's no need for too much insulation in the tank itself. These cars can even use a plastic tank without any problem. Storing water requires little or no effort, whereas storing hydrogen requires diverse measures. Hydrogen is only flammable when it is alone in its uncombined state. Plus, it can easily escape. This is why tanks of hydrogen-powered cars are always reinforced and monitored properly. But none of this is necessary for water tanks. As the produced hydrogen leaves the tank, it heads over to the engine, where combustion takes place. For this part of the process, however, certain adaptations have to be made. And so, the fuel injectors, valves, cylinder heads, and pistons are all adapted to contain hydrogen. However, overall, the water-powered engine is a lot safer than its hydrogen counterpart. This is because no combustible fuel is constantly being stored inside the car at any point in time. Hydrogen is only produced when the car is ignited, so there's little or no chance your car will go up in flames. Another important advantage of these new car types is that they don't give off emissions. Also, according to the experts behind this innovation, these engines are simple to produce since they employ uncomplicated mechanical designs. In case you don't know yet, water-powered cars are mechanical. This means the differences you notice in electric vehicles are absent in these cars. Also, the experience you get when driving hydrogen or water-powered cars is very similar to that of gasoline cars. One of the thrills of modern-day cars is the sounds the engines make when you drive, especially when you fire it up or change gears. Many car lovers all over the world cherish these engine sounds so much, especially in sports cars like Lamborghini or muscle cars like the Ford Mustang. This is another reason electric vehicles aren't too popular with car lovers. They may be environmentally friendly, but to most people, they're silent and boring. However, these new water engine cars from Toyota will be the perfect middleman, providing thrilling sounds whilst producing environmentally friendly byproducts. Just so you know, water-powered engines have the potential to become more powerful than regular combustion engines. Experts have found out that these engines, when modified and upgraded, can generate up to 3 times more joules of energy compared to gasoline engines. And most of all, they're going to turn the tide on the global demand for petrol. Fossil fuels will only remain a necessity for heavy machinery or large production plants. And so, the world will no longer have to worry about running out of crude oil. And will finally be one step closer to achieving clean energy consumption in every area of human life. The car industry, which used to be the #1 contributor to air pollution and climate degradation, now has the potential to make things better for humanity. However, where would this leave the oil companies, government, and other related establishments that benefit directly from petroleum consumption? As earlier noted, inventing water-powered cars has been an age-long dream, and many conspiracy theorists believe that this dream may have been sabotaged by individuals in the oil and gas industry. Since the mid-1990s, there have been stories and rumors of local geniuses who made cars that ran on water or some other cheap fuel source. However, their inventions were never given the attention they deserved. The men weren't funded to mass-produce these vehicles. In fact, some of them mysteriously disappeared or died after making their inventions public. One of the popular stories of inventors like these is that of Henry Allen Meyer. The story had it that Henry Allen Meyer made a water-powered car that he drove from New York to Los Angeles on 22 gallons of water. However, the young inventor later disclosed that he kept receiving threats from strangers whom he suspected to be representatives of oil and gas companies. These companies believed that his invention, if it became popular, would ruin their business. And so, they kept threatening him. When threats wouldn't work, they offered him millions to destroy the water car, the designs, and every bit of evidence surrounding it. If Meyer took the deal, he would have to deny ever creating a car that could run on water and would never attempt or even speak of it again. For life. However, Allen Meyer was an obstinate man and never backed down. One night, while entertaining 2 businessmen from Belgium, Meyer was poisoned. The businessmen had come showing interest in Meyer's work, and so he invited them to dinner. It was at the dinner that Allen Meyer ran out holding his throat. His brother, who was at the dinner with him, rushed to his aid. However, it was to no avail. Meyer died soon after. Although the official records say he died of a brain aneurysm, Meyer's brother told the press that Henry Meyer had confessed to him that it was the Belgian businessman who poisoned him. However, one of the Russian businessmen claimed that he had been sponsoring Meyer on his project since day one and was actually a close friend. And so, the case of Meyer's death was very controversial. That's not all. The real shocker happened after his death. A few days after Henry Meyer died, his car, documents, and every other thing related to the water vehicle engine were stolen from his garage. To date, no one knows who stole them or what became of them. This mysterious twist to the story made many believe that Meyer was indeed poisoned to make sure his invention never saw the light of day. But, you see, Myers isn't the only one here. There are so many claims of men who achieved similar feat. For instance, Charles Garrett made a water-fueled car that ran for a few minutes, using electrolysis in 1935. Also, Dennis Klein, CEO of a hydrogen firm, designed a special mixture called Aquagen that could make a car run on water. This happened in the early 2000s. At the time, the company was even planning on obtaining a patent for its design. Curiously, this company canceled the project and instead produced Aquagen as a fuel enhancer. Conspiracy theorists believe that this company, just like other notable inventors, was silenced by the oil industry and government. Now, there's no ample proof to back these claims and conspiracies. But some of these men had several witnesses to testify to their inventions, and the events surrounding their life and death after they made their genius inventions are quite suspicious. Names like Daniel Dingel, Ghulam Sarwar, Genepax, and Agha Waqar Ahmad are among the many that have mysteriously cancelled water engines after acclaimed successful breakthroughs. Given all of these past successes that got swept under the radar, I'm sure you're wondering, why now? Why is the auto industry choosing to finally pursue the dream of creating cars that run on water now? Well, there's no way to tell. But chances are that the industry has realized the fossil fuel crisis and the imminent threat that the world is running out of oil. And so, if the world continues to consume petroleum products the way we've been doing, that day may come sooner than later. These water engines will reduce the demand for gasoline, thereby giving our petroleum reserves more time to last. Besides, when the world finally runs out of oil and gas, we'll not need to worry about our cars. Water engines will save the day. This is one reason many believe car manufacturers like Toyota are beginning to invest in water engines. The time has come for drivable cars that run on water to hit the road. However, it is important to note that for now, there are no other car manufacturers that are working on this engine type, at least none that we publicly know of. But in any case, just like AI is the future of technology, water engines are the future of cars. Right now, there's still lots of room for improvement. In fact, you could say that this early water engine is experimental. In fact, some skeptics feel that the prototypes from Toyota are not yet fully reliable, especially since hydrogen is still coming into play. These experts believe that the fact that the water inside the tank has to be separated into hydrogen and oxygen greatly compromises the safety of these cars. Any little leakage while the car is operational could cause a huge fire outbreak or explosion. You see, a truly water-powered car would have to find a way to drive the car with the water just the way it is. However, this is basically impossible with a typical combustion engine. As we mentioned earlier, for a modern-day car to run, it has to burn fuel. Water isn't a fuel, rather, it's an extinguisher. So unless another working principle is invented for water-powered vehicles, the only way would be to separate out hydrogen or oxygen and then use either element for combustion. And so, this may just be our only way to make cars that run on water. Some time ago, an Iranian expert succeeded in converting his Peugeot 504 to run on water. Another scientist named Aladdin Qasemi also managed to do something similar with his car. These examples are just proof that making cars that run on water has always been a goal many car experts hope to achieve. And sadly, some may have actually achieved it without being recognized for it. Mostly, the oil industry and the government have been blamed for silencing inventors who would have revolutionized the auto industry. And so, this makes you wonder, what are the chances that Toyota won't get silenced or coerced to stop producing water engines? Certainly, oil companies would suffer the most shock if the company mass-produced these vehicles. And most companies would do anything in their power to keep the money flowing in. And so, what if Toyota ends up suffering a similar fate as Stanley Allen Meyer? For now, there's really no way to tell how things will go. However, it's agreeable that we have hit a major milestone in the auto industry, one that we cannot turn back from. There was a time it was hard to believe that cars would one day run on water. However, now, that seeming fantasy has become a reality. If things keep advancing, in the next few years, we may see sports cars and supercars running on water. It's only a matter of time. Thank you for watching another episode of Voyager. While you are still here, click the video on your screen to see more mind-blowing videos like this one.